Howdy there, this is MJ coming back one more time with another King of Hearts, Queen of Sorrows, my platform for discussing one of my favorite anime of all time, Mobile Fighter, G Gundam. This time I'll be discussing G Gundam 38, where Domon and Argo have their decisive match. And again, this is, falling into a formula. There's not much more to say. Argo gets his super form or his hyper mode, whatever, and he, mid-match, like within the first blow of the match, he tells Domon not to worry because just like Sai, of course he's willing, and the others, of course he's willing to fight against the Dark Gundam, but he wants to have this match because it's very important to him that he defeat Domon because he has to defeat him in the Battle Royale as well in order to save his friends. And I think this is more a proving ground than anything for these Shuffle Alliance members, which wasn't something I had really thought about before. I knew it was kind of mechanically filling in a trope or whatever. People misuse the word trope. Trope is supposed to be like a thing that's done, like a twist or a unique dimension added to a genre-specific thing, and now people use the word trope to mean a thing that makes a thing that defines that genre, when it's supposed to be the exact opposite, something that defies the genre. So I find that kind of funny, and I'm a little pedantic, and I don't like the fact that the meanings of words change. So I'm sorry. I apologize for that etymological divergence, if you can in fact call it that. I keep trying to strike the balance between being respectful of your time and giving you, oh my gosh, the best possible experience reviewing these episodes of G Gundam that I can. And you're just gonna have to bear with me here as I'm trying to rapidly close out the last 10 episodes or so of the show. I had a format that was more, clunky, but it was more structured, and it allowed me to discuss certain things that I have kind of neglected, and I want to talk about some of those. So the dinner date between Nastasha and Argo was interesting, mostly because it showed a lot of empathy between them, and whether there's a potential romance between them or not, it's fun to kind of think that there is, especially because their personalities are so different from each other. She's tough. She's a military woman. She's very tough. She has to be forceful and assertive, and she's this slight woman. She's mostly slight, but she's tall and thin, and Argo is tall and massively built, with these kind of beady little eyes, very angular, whereas Nastasha has big, soft, beautiful eyes, and Argo is also, I think I said he's very passive. He's very quiet, he's very calm, he does as he's told, and she's a little domineering. And possibly that's the sexual politics of being a woman in the Russian military. You have to put on that front. And Argo, as a man, maybe has the fortune or the ability, the freedom to express himself in different ways. And anyway, there was this whole thing a long time ago when Sailor Moon Crystal came out. The thought was brought up, or I heard it mentioned, that the great thing about having an all-female show, an all-female cast, is that it allows you to explore the different aspects of femininity and allows you to define women in different ways, or girls in different ways, whatever. And each different woman expressing or emphasizing different aspects of femininity brings out a more realistic, more well-rounded image of, or representation of, femininity and womanhood altogether. And I think that's really valuable. But I kind of personally, and not that I'm against all-girl cast things, because I've watched Glitter Force with my kids. We were watching She-Ra the other day, and those are predominantly female cast shows, and those are fun, especially for those reasons, that they get to show all these different aspects of femininity and what it means to be a girl or a woman. And I think that's excuse me, I think it's a healthy thing that we should be able to do in our media, in society, in families, even. And kids will go through phases where they like, or girls will go, well, whatever. Kids will go through phases where they like all the pink princess stuff. Then they'll go through phases where things that they like, they'll pretend that they're babyish, but then you'll see them secretly enjoying them too. And it's just kind of funny how that works. Anyway, focusing back on back to this episode. So Andrew Graham is looking for revenge for his wife. This is kind of a thing that happens where, a woman will be killed in a piece of media to create man pain, and to motivate a guy to do stuff. And, that's hashtag problematic. It's, whatever. But it's very effective. The reason it's done, and the reason it's probably overdone, is because it's a great shorthand. It is very effective for setting up the stakes of a story, for setting up a character's motivation. I mean, what could be more defining than losing somebody you love so greatly? And, flip the script, make it a woman who's out for revenge for the death of her husband. Is that good enough for you? I don't know, but it's good enough for me. It's interesting. And I'm not saying that's the extent of that's how far we should go. But it is an interesting way to explore story. And of course, this, G Gundam is from 94, so we're in 2019, that's, 25 years ago? So you can forgive it for using old, outdated, outmoded, setups for its characters. But what I thought was most interesting about Andrew Graham in this episode was that he is very conflicted, and he basically comes to a point where I guess if you look at the analysis of characters, what he wants and what his needs come into conflict in this episode, and there's a realization and a revelation and a growth in the character, and he arcs here, I guess. What Andrew Graham wants is to kill Argo Golsky for killing his wife. What Andrew Graham needs is to let go of the pain and forgive Argo and accept the fact that Argo was trying to save his wife, and that he had no intention for her to die, and that her death was an accident. He needs to let go of that in order to be happy, because the only other way he sees or thinks that he can be happy right now is to take the life of an innocent man. And even if he wasn't innocent, would that, and he got the chance to kill Argo, and he killed Argo, would that really satisfy him? I don't know. Obviously, the people behind the show kind of skirted that by making Argo innocent, and it's almost more dramatic and more tense because of that, because he didn't do it, and that he was trying to save her, Mrs. Graham. But gosh, it's a great conflict. It's very dramatic, and it's really neat how it plays out. Yeah, that's what I have to say about that. Let's see. Oh, so the two quotes for this episode, one of them that was almost it, but then it wasn't. I didn't go with it. It was Domon talking to Andrew, telling him, "If you're a true Gundam fighter, try communicating with your fists. I'm sure then you will see the truth." And it was funny, the line read, because Domon's walking away from him, and it seems like an inner monologue, but then Andrew responds to that with his own inner monologue. So I don't know if they just didn't want to do the voice flaps or what, but they could have done a reverse shot in reverse, where you saw Andrew's face while Domon was talking, and then where you saw Domon's face or back, or both of their backs, while Andrew was responding. Or maybe Andrew should have responded internally and Domon should have said it out loud and it should have been clear. I don't know, but that was a kind of a funny thing the show did. Let's see. But the real the title of the episode is going to be "Your Own Two Fists Have Shown Me the Light to My Soul," and I just love how beautiful and poetic the show is, especially when it's overwrought with macho-ness to some extent. Like going back to Andrew Graham, he is this huge, jacked man. Sorry. He's this huge jacked man. He's just massive. And when you saw him, when you see him in the flashbacks, he's a regular looking guy. But he got swole in his quest for revenge. He decided to become a huge, imposing figure, much like Argo Golsky, except that he would be enacting revenge. And it's interesting if you look at the designs, even though Graham is huge, his eyes are still much larger than Argo's. They're not as slanted. So he has a gentler look to him, kind of like a big teddy bear, as opposed to Argo, who looks fearsome more than anything. And I like that visual contrast between them. And it's interesting because, maybe Graham retains that soft core, even though he has tried to build this stuff onto himself. He's tried to build himself this body to exact revenge on a man because he's hurting, because of love, because of this wound, the separation from this woman, versus maybe Argo, like, he has loyalty to his friends and he wants to protect them, and he's been a pirate who doesn't hurt people, maybe like a Robin Hood type person. I'm not sure the whole extent of his crimes and his piracy. But, hashtag not all pirates are evil. I'm sorry for throwing hashtags in this. That's so, I know that's probably like 2016 of me, so I apologize. Please forgive me. Anyway, maybe Argo looks the way he does and is the way he is because the harshness of his life throughout that he's had to deal with, and it's helped mold him into this figure. But there is still that good heart in him and that honor, and that's, like, you have to look beneath the surface to see that with him. I don't know. It's very interesting. Anyway, that's pretty much all I have to say. I really liked this episode. I liked how it kind of subverted what had happened in the last 2-3 episodes. The 2 for sure. The 3rd, it kind of went more in line with it. But I really like that Graham got to have this arc, that Argo got forgiveness, that Argo had an assurance from Nastasha that she was willing to take care of his friends if he died, and that the guy was willing to die for his friends. There's that saying. It's from the Bible. It's the Messiah himself. There's no greater love than for a man to lay down his life for his friends. And Argo was willing to do that, and it was cool because it was the only way he could think to beat Burning Gundam. And I don't know. There's got to be some sort of cyclical Christology thing going on there. Maybe, I don't know. But it's interesting, and I love the use of the allusion to the biblical narrative, even if it's just because it's a powerful narrative and not because there's any religious underpinnings in the people who wrote the episode. So anyway, that's all I have to say. This was a really good episode. All the stuff with Wong and Allenby and the Berserker system, I'm just going to push off to talk about next week, or not next week, maybe tomorrow, because the next episode deals with it in pretty dramatic fashion. So yeah, that's all I have to say. Thank you so much for listening, for spending your time with me, and anyway, let me know what you think. Should I do more in-depth, more broad analyses like this one, or is what I've been doing the last few episodes fine? Let me know, because I'm curious, and I will kind of tweak and tailor things to be most entertaining to you, dear audience. That's all I have to say. So remember, folks, go out there and grasp happiness.
MJMunoz.com is home for all my work. Podcasts and reviews of anime, tokusatsu, Star Wars, and more. Plus my original writings. If you didn't enjoy this, critique me. If you did, leave me a comment. If you really like this, consider tipping me at coffee.com/MJMunoz. Thank you so much for your time and attention. Until next time, be well.